Welcome back. Hunter Biden skipping his own court hearing in Los Angeles yesterday. His lawyers asking the judge to throw out 9 tax-related charges, claiming that they are politically motivated. Special counsel David Weiss was in that courtroom accusing Hunter of dodging more than $1 million in tax returns. Judge Mark Scarsi was skeptical of the argument, saying that there doesn't seem to be any evidence that public pressure from Republicans influenced the prosecution's decisions. A ruling planned for April 17th. If this case proceeds, Hunter is facing 2 separate criminal trials in June, the other on the 3 gun charges brought in Delaware. Joining me now is Florida Congresswoman Paulina Luna, member of the House Oversight and Natural Resources Committees. Congresswoman, thanks very much for being here today.
Thanks.
What can you tell us about the Oversight's investigation into influence peddling and Hunter Biden's role in it?
Well, as you can see right now, we know that Hunter's not going to probably want to show up. And I am hearing that actually the next step for us will be issuing a subpoena to Hunter Biden. But, you know, Maria, I always find it interesting with this argument because we know for a fact that this administration has been using their appointees to shut down any investigations into Hunter Biden and his business dealings tied to his father. We know that in August 21, when the IRS whistleblowers came forward to investigate Hunter Biden, they were actually approached by the CIA, and actually Kevin Morse was told that he could not testify as a witness. So we know for a fact that this has been ongoing, but there's absolute corruption. We have evidence of it.
Yeah, but do you feel that you're going to be able to push this through and finish this investigation? James Comer has told us about stonewalling and about how the DOJ is simply not cooperating with any of your subpoenas or asks for information.
I think that if Comer and Jordan decide to issue subpoenas, which they have the authority to do so, that we could absolutely complete this, but they have to be willing to do that, mainly because if these individuals don't show up, that we can hold them in contempt, and we have the votes to do that. But again, they have to issue those subpoenas, and they have to want to bring forth contempt.
Well, Chairman Comer told me that he is about to issue criminal referrals. He said that there will be many criminal referrals. But again, those referrals refer to criminality potential, and they go to the DOJ. Will the DOJ do anything with criminal referrals?
I don't think the DOJ will. However, there's another avenue that we have as Congress. It's a different type of contempt. And so we also have that as an ability to do so. And I would advise Chairman Comer, which I will when we get back, that that's another alternative. Because, again, like you had mentioned, I don't even have faith in the DOJ, and I'm in Congress.
Let me ask you about what's happening in Florida. Federal investigators in Florida reportedly looking into transactions linked to President Biden's brother, James Biden. This is part of that criminal investigation into the failed healthcare company AmeriCorps. The Fed's probing an effort by James Biden and his business partners to land Middle Eastern investments. The DOJ officials in Pennsylvania also reportedly seeking information about James Biden as recently as last year, investigating a Medicare fraud also linked to AmeriCorps. Congresswoman, we've read about this agreement that James Biden had with AmeriCorps, and the contract looks eerily similar to the contract that they were putting together for Hunter Biden's partners and CEFC, the Chinese energy company. Very similar ideas where Joe Biden will get equity. Joe Biden will perhaps get a seat on the board at some point. Your thoughts on that AmeriCorps investigation and James Biden's role in using the Biden name to say he's going to easily get money from Middle Eastern investors for AmeriCorps?
I mean, look, we've known for a while that this is how this family operates, and it's in my opinion that Hunter Biden was absolutely a part of tying this all together. Now, it has been interesting, Maria, because every time we bring forward this evidence and we put this out there to the mainstream media, they don't really want to pick up on it because they continue to deny Joe Biden's involvement in all this. But again, we have the transactions from these banks. Representative Byron Donalds actually did a wonderful job in one of our testimonies or hearings last week, presenting this evidence. And the fact is that they are all tied together. And we know for a fact that, again, this family was benefiting not just from China, but from our other adversaries as well.
It doesn't appear that you've got all the members in the Republican Party on board with this investigation. I mean, look what's going on with so many people stepping down. Ken Buck, Mike Gallagher. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene told me on Sunday Morning Futures that she thinks the House should expel the Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher before his planned resignation next month, because if he leaves on the schedule that he wants to leave, you won't be able to have a special election. If he leaves now, Gallagher's district could select a new representative before November's election. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett also talked about Gallagher's decision to leave when he wants to leave and eliminating any chance for a special election. Here's Tim Burchett with me yesterday. Watch this. It feels like some of your colleagues are saying, well, screw you, I'm out of here.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what they're saying. I would hope that Mike would immediately resign so that we can have if he's going to leave, to have we can immediately have a special election. So I hope there's no skullduggery afoot. It just looks bad.
Do you think this is basically his retaliation against you and your quote-unquote squad who fired Kevin McCarthy?
I've heard that. I'd hope not. He got his tic-tac bill across the line, and then he's gone. So it's just very unfortunate. This is putting us in a horrible, horrible position.
So, Congresswoman, is that intentional? Put the House in a horrible position? After Mike Gallagher leaves, you're going to hang on to the majority by a hair, one vote.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Representative Burchett, and I've heard that there's some personal issues with Representative Gallagher, so we're praying for him. But what I will also say, Maria, is that the timing could not be worse, and I agree that if he waits, that we will essentially not be able to fill that seat. So I would publicly ask for him to do the right thing and step down early. We unfortunately do not have the votes for expulsion. As you know, an expulsion vote requires 2/3 of Congress in order to do that, and the Democrats are hoping that this seat remains open, because if it does, it essentially will put us in a bad predicament. So we're hoping that he does the right thing again and steps down early.
My sources tell me that he's got a job with Palantir, Peter Thiel's company. Palantir, of course, has lots of government business. I'm sure if he wanted to go at a different time, Palantir would still have the job for him. But, Joe, look what's going on here. Ken Buck wants to apparently go and become a person on TV talking about the election. He's leaving early. Mike Gallagher's leaving, and leaving the House with no efforts to have a special election to represent his district.
I mean, look, I think this
so they lose the vote.
This is not new, members of Congress kind of departing early. What is new is members of Congress departing when we are so divided at a time when there was so much upheaval, both domestically and then internationally. And so, Congresswoman, I think to that point, obviously, look, in the history of the country, we only basically expelled 20 people. We're looking at having 2 people potentially expelled in the last 12 months. Is there perhaps a better way or a more effective way to compel the congressman, who, for all intended purposes, many believe is a good man, to simply say, in service of country and in service of the district that you've served, please step aside sooner so that they don't have to go for this extended period of time without representation?
I believe that those talks are likely already in place, and I am hoping to call myself to see if I can have any influence on that decision. But what I will say is that, earlier last week, we had a Newsweek article come out with Ken Buck saying that others were going to resign, and we're also hearing that potentially 2 more may resign. And so back to Maria's point, I think that this might be a little bit in retaliation of what's happened earlier this year. But what I will say is this, we are really the only thing standing in between whatever's left in the Biden administration coming down the pipe to hurt the American people. And so if we lose this majority, if we have people that are doing this simply for self instead of service, then, we're in pretty bad shape. And so what I am, again, is making those public calls to ask Representative Gallagher, please do not leave at your predicted time. Please resign now so that we can fill that. But again, it's been very upsetting to see. And what I will also say, Maria, is I agree with you. I think that Palantir can wait. And frankly, I don't know that I publicly said this, but with what Representative Buck had done, especially to another member of Congress in potentially hamstringing Representative Boebert's election, I actually was the member that came forward and asked him to leave the Freedom Caucus. And as a result of that, he was actually expelled from the Freedom Caucus. So, we have a code of honor here. And as a result of that, if you can't live by that code of honor, then you don't deserve the title.
So was it all worth it? I mean, was it worth the drama that has gone on in Congress, taking down Kevin McCarthy for doing a deal with Democrats? And here you are in the same exact spot. Mike Johnson had to do a deal with Democrats. We still have $35 trillion in debt. We still are on Nancy Pelosi's budget. And yet you've got people retaliating for taking down Kevin McCarthy, like Mike Gallagher leaving, so that you have no representation in that district in Wisconsin.
I think that there was some pre-existing issues that predated my time in Congress that led to what happened with Representative McCarthy. But what I will say is this, we are elected to represent our district and our people. And what we're finding is what's happening up here is a loyalty to an individual, not necessarily the district. And I think people forget that. And so what I'm hoping is that that motion to vacate does not get called up, because as you know, Maria, it's one of those things that just because it's filed doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go to the floor. But I would also call on our speaker, Representative Mike Johnson, to find his inner MAGA Mike and stop what he's doing. he's third in line to the presidency, and so he can absolutely stop this craziness.
All right, we will leave it there. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much, Anna Paulina Luna.